It was a remarkable discovery. Seemingly prehistoric ruins of an ancient city found, as Edgar Cayce predicted, off the coast of Bimini. Could this be the western edge of Atlantis? Bimini is a small group of islands, only 9 miles square in total. It is part of the Bahamas and lies just off the coast of Florida. Bimini is part of a large plateau that extends into the western Atlantic. The waters surrounding the islands are very shallow. In 1968, divers made a discovery that lends support to Edgar Cayce's claim of a past life as an Atlantean. Off the coast of North Bimini Island, they found a 2,000-foot-long stretch of interlocking rock that has been interpreted as either a stone road or the tops of a submerged stone rampart, perhaps part of an Atlantean fort or castle.
Oh, it's a road, all right. It may be a stone pathway or the top of a wall. You can see that these stones are flat and they fit together. Something built these things. They weren't built by mermen and mermaids.
This is the type of architecture that's associated with Atlantis. Giant megalithic blocks, often of a jigsaw shape, perfectly fitted together.
The so-called Bimini Road may have all the earmarks of a man-made structure, but geologists are unimpressed. They have seen this kind of formation before.
That rock underwater is called beach rock. It occurs in any tropical area, and it breaks into square cuts. These are called joints in geology. They're natural joints. They're natural breaks in the rock.
There's strong opinions on both sides. Some people think that it's for sure a man-made formation. Some think that it's the natural formation of beach rock, which forms what look like pavements sometimes along the beach line there. But some parts look like at least the hand of man has had some intervention in it.
There is other evidence of human intervention to be found off the coast of North Bimini Island. There are barrel-shaped objects, which some researchers have suggested are stone pillars of Atlantean design. And there are indications of a mysterious civilization onshore as well.
One of the most exciting discoveries recently has been that in the swamps on the eastern side of Bimini, people have been flying in planes for years and noticed that there was a thing down there that looked like a fish. And indeed, it is shaped like a shark. In fact, it looks quite a bit like one of the local sharks in Bimini, but it's 500 feet long and 100 feet wide.
These inexplicable monuments, whose builders are unknown, may seem dubious to those seeking hard evidence of Atlantis, but they fit in perfectly with Edgar Cayce's original visions.
I'm sure there was more to Atlantis than Bimini. It may have been the western parts of Atlantis then, maybe the last parts that were remaining at the 10,000 BC period.
Even Cayce admits this is not all there is to Atlantis, and that there is no evidence of a great volcanic or seismic catastrophe on Bimini. To find ruins and a history of violent earth changes, we must travel to the eastern side of the Atlantic, to the Canary Islands. And it is here that we find another remarkable story that a people survived a global catastrophe. The Canary Islands are located just 60 miles off the northwest coast of Africa, in the southernmost section of the mid-Atlantic ridge.
The Canary Islands are another good island archipelago to look at in connection with Atlantis. They're in the right area. Also, the Canaries have very high mountain peaks there. There's volcanic activity and hot spring activity.
When Spanish explorers arrived here in the 1500s, they found towering mountain peaks, lush flora, exotic fauna, and a strange tribe of displaced people, perhaps the refugees of Atlantis. They are known as the Guanches. When conquistadors arrived on the Canaries, the Guanches communicated their surprise at finding that other people had escaped the great disaster which had sunk their homeland. They displayed stone tablets with a language they could no longer read. They hoped the explorers could decipher them, but the conquistadors were conquerors, not scholars. Like Atlantis itself, the existence of the massacred Guanches cannot be proven scientifically. But mysterious inscriptions in stone, perhaps of an ancient Atlantean language, do survive in the Canaries, and they remain undeciphered to this day. There are also circular stone foundations of an ancient civilization that may have existed here at the time of the conquistadors. Strangely, the Canary Islands are not the only place where these kinds of ruins have been found. The Guanches assumed that their homeland had been destroyed and that they were the only survivors. But this may not be the case. Stone foundations and inscriptions matching those in the Canaries have been found here, 1,000 miles away from the Canaries, on the Mediterranean island of Malta. These temples are now believed to be the world's earliest freestanding stone structures. And these Maltese ruins do show signs of a great catastrophe that provides an essential link to the location of Atlantis. According to David Childress, the Malta of today is quite different from the Malta of 12,000 years ago.
Malta, during the time of Atlantis, was not an island, but a plateau in this fertile valley of the Mediterranean. I think Malta is important in the evidence for Atlantis. The giant megalithic ruins at Malta are said to be some of the oldest in the world. The ruins of Gigantica and Gozo are said to be the oldest ruins that we have so far found, and they're dating them back to 7,000, 8,000 BC. And this is getting us into that time frame of Plato's Atlantis.
Childress believes that the ruins on Malta once stood at the elevated center of a vast Mediterranean valley. Then a great deluge flooded the valley, leaving only the top of Malta above water.
The ruins show evidence of having had water deluge over them, and then became the island that it is today.
This prehistoric cave links Malta to Atlantis. Here, paleontologists have discovered the bones of exotic animals long extinct. They did not die in this cave. The bones were washed in during a flood. Among the animal bones found here are those of pygmy elephants, a creature not native to Malta, but described by Plato as living in Atlantis. And these mysterious cart paths provide another possible link to Atlantis. The rutted paths are ancient, and most surprising of all, the ruts do not lead to a town or a monument. They lead into the sea. If the Great Maltese Flood was possibly caused by the sinking of Atlantis, then we must be very close. But is there evidence of a great island in this area of the world that would match Plato's description? Looking closer to his own home, there is an island in the Aegean with a history of cataclysmic volcanic activity. Could Atlantis have been in Plato's backyard?
Coming up, compelling evidence that Atlantis may never have been in the Atlantic.
This perhaps could be Atlantis.
And exclusive underwater footage revealing what may be the final piece in the great Atlantean puzzle. Next on Atlantis, in search of a lost continent.